Hello world, Christian Truther here, and I've got part 3 for you on my multi-part series on the shape of the world. Is it round, is it flat? And we're looking for objective truth that's still true regardless of what we think about it. So, please join me in this discussion. Before I get into the satellite data topic that I'm planning on, let's cover some housekeeping. First of all, my ground rules that I won't read aloud, but the first 2 are my promise to you, and the bottom 2 are what I'm going to hold you guys accountable to. So join me for a fairly short and civil discussion, and it's about 10 minutes, and you can let me know what you think in the comments. Also, I do highly recommend my first video because I talk about why I'm even doing this, and my methodology, as well as tackling a completely different subject. And this time only, I also recommend my second video because it also talks about satellites, but more about their existence than the data that we're supposed to be receiving from them. So, because it kind of is a relationship with the material presented there, I recommend that video as well. But as always, this is unscripted, unedited, no green screen. I don't think my arguments need the help. So we're going to go into this, dive right in, point the cannons at each other from each side, fire, and we'll see which side is left standing. So let's dive right in. I think we need to start with global positioning systems. The heliocentric model says the world is round and we have satellites in orbit and they're sending us data for location. And almost everyone has experienced this because almost everyone has someone in their life with a smartphone. Now, GPS was supposedly created by the U.S. military, but obviously the U.S. military, if there was a conspiracy, would be in on it. So, but moving past that, they say they created it so they could locate their soldiers and also deliver ordnance on enemy targets with pinpoint accuracy. And it was used, I think, for the first time in the Persian Gulf War to great effect. Saddam Hussein had no answer for it. The Flat Earth says, well, satellites can't be real. And you don't need them anyway for GPS because we could just use cell phone tower telemetry and triangulation. So, sorry, don't need the satellites. Let's expose which one is accurate because I think we can actually determine this. First off, remember, if this is something that's ground-based, Saddam Hussein should have been able to shut that down and deny the U.S. military-led invasion of Iraq during the Desert Storm War and should have been able to hinder their efforts. So it was something out of his control, or seemingly so. So that's smoking gun number 1. Smoking gun number 2. You've gone, I'm sure, someplace in North America in 2018, there are still places that are dead zones. And you've had difficulty getting a signal on your cell phone. But yet you can still get GPS information in those areas. Also, and this is related, my boss owns a boat. We live in Michigan. He likes to boat across Great Lakes. And he can use his maritime GPS unit independent when he has no cell phone coverage. No cell phone towers required to operate off of large bodies of water. We know it works across oceans even. So it doesn't seem to be ground-based, and we can prove finally that it's not. All you have to do, and this is experimentation time, take your own cell phone, go to a department store, a mall, something like that, get away from windows, skylights, make sure they don't have any of those. Make sure you're well enclosed, and pull out your phone, make sure the Wi-Fi is turned off because we don't want to get location data from the Wi-Fi routers in the store, even though those aren't highly accurate. We want to remove all of that, and you'll see this big blue bubble that says, I don't know where you are. You're somewhere in here, but it's a pretty big bubble. And that bubble is cell phone tower triangulation, which Congress ordered cell phone makers to start putting in their phones back in the early 2000s. So this is something that is evidence that your phone is needing something from the sky. It doesn't know it's indoors to trick you. So it needs something from the sky. You get close to the windows, you get underneath the skylight, and it can get data again from satellites, and you're able to then navigate. So this is a really strong evidence that you yourself can experiment and try. Next up, we've got television. Also, there is satellite internet, but I think the satellite television is far and away the most popular ways that supposed satellite telemetry makes its way into consumer households. Now, I think it would be very interesting if someone believed that the world was flat but also had a satellite data service. If that's the case, let me know in the comments. But also, if that's the case, you can perform an experiment yourself. All you have to do is just aim your dish away from the equatorial plane towards the sky. See, in the northern hemisphere, they expect you to point the dishes to the south and skyward. And then if you're in the southern hemisphere, they want you to point them towards the equator, so to the north and skyward. So angling up towards the equator, because that's where they say their satellites are located. So all you have to do is point them at the ground, or point them at the North Pole, if you're in the northern hemisphere, or point them at the South Pole in the southern hemisphere. You will lose signal. It's not omnidirectional, which is what you would assume that an over-the-air transmission would be. So it's not omnidirectional, it's very unidirectional, and that is another evidence, since you're pointing that direction mount towards the sky, that the signal is indeed coming from there. And lastly, we have the argument from the plotters say, but you would expect real photography from space. And NASA's admitted that they Photoshop it. And the guy said, of course it's Photoshop, but it has to be. And also, we've seen images like this, where North America, it looks so big on the globe, you can't even see Alaska. Whereas in other images, you can see all North America, and it's quite small compared to this one over here. Okay, well, first of all, let me tackle the Photoshop conundrum. The gentleman who was talking about that was referring to a project he was running specifically, where he was stitching together a lot of photographs. And Photoshop does not equal CGI. Very important to realize that they are not synonymous terms. Photoshop is to manipulate and enhance photos. Certainly you can do digital creation and butchery with them, but really, generally, most of its uses is to enhance real photos. Now, on the other side of the equation, you've got CGI. That's just completely fabricated material. He was saying he was working with tons of little bitty photos, high resolution photos of the Earth, but small portions of the Earth, and rectangular ones of a curving surface at that, which led to some stitching errors and led to some cloning events as some images overlapped. And that is what he is talking about. It has to be Photoshop, because he was dealing with a whole bunch of photos trying to splice them together into a single image file. Okay? He wasn't admitting guilt. And why would he? If he's really in on the lie, saying this in public is about the stupidest thing he could possibly do. But what about this? What about these photos? Well, I'm going to run a little experiment here real quick. And I'm going to use a soccer ball. Kid soccer ball, I don't think my 2-year-old will mind. The reason I'm using soccer balls is because of the different colored pentagons on it can provide reference points for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it really close. And I'm going to simulate a near-Earth satellite taking a photo. Because remember, they say some of these satellites are really close to the Earth. Some of them are out past the moon, but most of them are pretty close to the Earth. So I'm going to simulate this near-Earth photo. Then I'm going to back it away, and I'm going to optically zoom in. And we're going to see if the size of the pentagons change on the shape of the ball. And they should. So here's what is happening. Okay. So, on this first one, we can see that center pentagon is fairly dominant. Also, please note, you really can't see the back end of any of the pentagons at all. Okay? So I'm going to back it away, and I'm going to optically zoom in. This is where it gets tricky. Operate this. Okay. Same location, and now you can see the back sides of all those pentagons. The center pentagon doesn't look anywhere near as large as it once did. So this is something you can replicate as well. I love experiments. So you can test this, get your own soccer ball, get your own camera with an optical zoom, and you will also see that that is exactly what you would expect to see happen. Now, there's other sources of information, of imagery. If you type in HDEV into a Google browser, you should be able to come up with a website dedicated to real-time live video streaming. Also, if you're a Dish customer, they've got a whole channel devoted to this. And not from this source, from their own satellite that they created and had put up there. So either they're complicit in it or they're being lied to somehow, and that begs a whole different set of questions of how that conspiracy would be run. Also, Himawari 8 is a weather satellite put up. It's in geosynchronous orbit, meaning it never will move. It's going to stay with the rotation of the Earth, and it's for meteorological data. And they have it actually this every 10 minutes. It posts a new photo, and then they put together an animation. The important thing about all these videos from space is that the meteorological data that they're representing is accurate. If it says it's cloudy over your head, you can go outside and you will see the clouds. If it says it's clear over your area, you can go outside and you will see clear sky. And if you see the clouds moving in, again. So meteorologically, these are all correct. Also, the Himawari was able to spot a wildfire in Australia back in 2015 that really no one knew about. Because of the smoke blooms, though, they were able to find out about this wildfire. So this is data that it's accurate. It's being live streamed in a lot of cases, and it is strong evidence that it is real, because you would have to take a lot of computing power and a lot of manpower in order to try and keep perpetuating this. It brings more people into a conspiracy, and the more people there are, you can refer to my first one, the more likely that the conspiracy is going to be found out. So, that is really all I have for you today. Satellite data does seem to check out on all counts, and there's really no reason to believe that satellites aren't there, which means that the Earth is indeed round. So this is Christian Truther. Until next time, signing off.